Hey everybody, my name is Holly Lamb and I want to thank you for joining Toby and I on our back deck. We are joining the 5 Under 5 playlist and it is garden and porch decor. So we are going to be redoing the back deck of what we call our general store. It's the shelving unit we have here on our deck. And Toby, you ready to get started? Let's go. We're going to start off first with this large tray that I got at the, I think I actually bought it at Hello Goodbye, but you can buy trays like this at Dollar General, sometimes the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be just putting a couple of coats of the plaster chalk paint by Waverly, plaster color. And I'm going to be using these stamps and stencils on this one. For if you are trying to save money on crafting, stamps and stencils are a great way to economize crafting because you can use them over and over. Now, I bought these from Amazon. You can see the set I bought there. And then the stamps are called Lady Shalott, and they are an IOD stamp. They're a retired stamp. So you can't get these anymore, but there are several stamp sets that are have the big flowers like this one. You probably can still find this one. I actually got this one on sale. It didn't come with, it was the older generation that didn't have masks with it yet. So I have to make my own masks for this. I think they have a separate set where you can buy the mask, but I can make them myself and it works just as well. It's a great time to get stamp sets like this because they're just going to last forever. They're tough, and you can see I'm yanking and pulling, getting them off. They are just great quality, nice and thick and solid. And the detail, I can't wait for you to see the detail on these big, beautiful flowers. And so I'm going to do a little bit of overlapping. You can see that leaf right there. I want it to be in the front of my picture, so it needs to be stamped first. So I'm grabbing one of my thin mounts there that you can buy from an IOD retailer. Now this is the Ranger Archival ink in the potting soil. That's the name of the color, potting soil. It is my current favorite. It is beautiful. It's kind of a golden brown and it's dark enough, but it's not too dark. And look at that. That leaf and that little rosebud. Oh my goodness. They're so pretty. All right, so now I'm going to make out of just a little piece of plastic here. This is just a covering. I'm going to cut out a mask because I want the tip of that leaf. I don't need to mask the whole thing. I just need to get the tip of it. I want it to the leaf to look like it's in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to decide where I want that flower. Yep, just on the tip of that leaf. So I'm going to set it on the thin mount there. And then I'm going to ink it up and then make sure my little clear, I should have made it a opaque mask so you could see it, but I just made it out of some wrap from a piece of mail that we got, so I was just using some scraps. And now you see how I'm inking it up. I like to go vertically onto the stamp. I don't like to scrape on the sides because that gets clumps on the sides and will muddy your image. Ugh. You can see I'm kind of doing my hand because I let it slide just a little bit. So I'm going to have to come back and do a little bit of fixing. But at this point, I've committed to this spot. So even though I have a little bit of a ghosting shadow, which I can fix, I'm committed to this spot and we're going with it. And so I'm going to just touch, tap, and tap, tap, tap all over the entire stamp. Wipe it off immediately with a baby wipe. There's the mask. It came off with the stamp when I lifted it up. And you can see there the leaf looks like it's in front and the flower in the back. And so see there's just that little bit of shadow. So out comes the chalk paint and usually just 2 light coats of the chalk paint. And since this kind of paint is self-leveling, once it dries, you won't even be able to tell. I slowed it down so you could see where I put the chalk paint. And it's all fixed. So it's just an extra step that I shouldn't have had to do. You just have to hover, stamp, and commit. And then push, push, push. Now, I'm going to be painting with these acrylic paints from the Dollar Tree. I just have a various array of colors. On top of this stamp. I always like to set the stamp. I know this is permanent ink, But just to be sure I don't have any bleeding or any smearing of the ink from the stamp, I like to take it outside and spray it with my matte sealer by Rust-Oleum. The matte clear is probably my most used spray paint ever. I use it all the time. I always make sure I have some. I like the matte. I also sometimes get the gloss, but most of the time it's the matte. Now, I'm doing this almost like a watercolor. I'm adding a lot of water from my my brush cup with the water in it, and I'm making almost like watercolor. Sometimes I've seen people paint with, acrylics and chalk paints on top of stamping, and then they stamp again on top of the paint. I didn't want to do that. I wanted this paint to be just subtle and light. And so in some points, I'm taking my tissue there that I have in my left hand and I'm dabbing off some paint. You can see I'm just kind of painting it down, dabbing it off, and I'm even taking a dry brush there and making sure things are blended. I didn't want any kind of, anything too dark. I wanted to be able to see the beautiful detail underneath, and I'm going to do a lot with this darker green. So you can see where I've used a couple different shades, and I'm blending them there with the water to make it just as transparent as possible, with still being able to see the color. And I just love the way this looks. I think the shading of the yellow and the green with all that detail from those stamps it's just so pretty. And I'll be able to use this stamp over and over and over. And so, when you're thinking economical, buy good quality materials and you'll be able to use them over and over and over. And, I would love to use this beautiful stamp over and over. All right, now I'm going to use this Deco Art paint I bought from Michael's. It's in dark denim. I think I'll show you the bottle later on in the video because I use it again. This is it's almost like a cobalt blue. It's a very bright, pretty blue. And so I am using my JRV stencil brush. And you can see on my paper plate, I have a little bit, and then I dry brush, I dab off lots of the paint so that I don't have any clumping and any kind of messiness underneath. And I pull it up, get under it, and pull it up very quickly so I don't drag anything. Now, there are those little stencil spaces that I just do not care for at all. So I'm just going to take a very tiny brush, and I'm going to tap a little bit of paint into all of those little spaces to make it look like it was not stenciled, but printed on there somehow magically. Okay, now I wanted to kind of edge the tray and make it look kind of finished. I thought that was nice. Just to take my Potting Soil archival ink again and just give it an edge. It's just a plastic tray, but nobody needs to know that. And then finally, I'm going to, because it's going to be outside, it is on a covered porch, but I wanted it to be, sealed. Okay, now to make it stand up, I was in the Restore the other day, and I grabbed this little set of bookends. It's just a really small little set of wooden bookends, and they were in good shape. But I'm going to use these to help my projects to stand up out there on the shelves on the deck. And so I'm going to use some of my wood glue, my Gorilla Clear wood glue, and then some hot glue. And I'm going to put this on the back of my tray and stand it up and make sure that I have it straight. So I'm turning it every which way, this way, that way. While the hot glue is still hot, I'm turning it every which way to make sure I can adjust. And then I just kind of hold it there. And that's going to sturdy up my tray so I can put it here on the shelves. And there's my friend Toby, my best boy. And here it is. Family is God's masterpiece. We spend a lot of time out on our deck. So pretty. Those stamps, though. All right. Now let's move on to another shelf. We're going to take a look at this big fish here. I found this fish at the Hello Goodbye thrift store that I love to go to here in Glenn County. And this tray looked like it had seen better days. It was pretty scratched up, but not damaged in any other way. So it was some kind of acrylic, plastic. And I am going to zhuzh it up a little bit. I'm going to start on the back, and I'm going to be using this True Navy Ultra Matte spray paint by Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum is my paint of choice. I use Krylon sometimes, but most of the time it's Rust-Oleum from Walmart. And when I can find these Ultra Mattes, I pick them up. I really enjoy the other shades of Ultra Matte. I've got a real pretty, there's a real pretty teal color I like, and or really all of them. I like the matte, that Ultra Matte finish. And you know, Home Depot carries Rust-Oleum, but they don't have any Ultra Mattes. Interesting. Okay, now here comes my JRV stencil brush again, and I'm using a little bit of plaster chalk paint and a little bit of gold acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree. And we are going to be using this stencil from that same pack that we used before. Again, stencils and stamps, because they're reusable. And you know, they are great for DIYing. And so I'm just going to kind of trim it up here and make it fit to my fish, because I want it to lay flat. I know some people can make a stencil that doesn't sit flat. They can make it work. I have trouble with that. I need my stencil to be flat, and I need my stencil brush to be as dry from paint as possible. That's just how it works for me. There's lots of other techniques. You know, I could have painted it, you know, the same color on top. I could have done a layer of Mod Podge to try to seal it in and keep the bleeding from happening. But my answer is just keep my finger close to where I'm stenciling and use a super dry brush. So it seems to work for me, so that's what I'm going to do. Now here I go in, trying to fix all the little spaces. You see all the little spaces? We don't like that. We're going to dab, dab, dab. I'm using an extra small brush now because I don't want to get into that blue and that spray paint, so I don't have any paint to kind of, you know, come back with it if I go over like I would have done before. And I think that just makes it look nicer. There's not many of those spaces in this particular set, but there was enough that it needed to be fixed. All right, so I'm going to be waxing this, but I don't want the wax to take over. And also because it is going to be outside, I wanted to make sure everything was good and sturdy. So I'm going to be using Annie Sloan's white wax. Right now, it's hard to see the facial features and the features in the tail. So wax to the rescue. This also acts as a sealer. But again, since it's going to be outside, I wanted to make sure it had that Rust-Oleum clear sealer on it. This is more decorative. So I'm trying to, that eye had a lot of crevice there. It looked a little scary when I started taking off the wax. I didn't want it to be too bright. And then the tail has some, you know, little lines in it and crevices and detail. So I wanted to make sure that could be seen as well. So now we can see the little fish's face and his mouth. And now we're going to be able to see his tail, his little fins. And then I'm going to put wax over the whole thing and then just with a circular motion, just buff it out. Yep. And that's going to give me the detail I need to finish this up. Love it. I always put wax out in a paper plate because I don't want to contaminate my larger container there. So there we go. If we have any extra. If it hasn't been touched, then I'll put it back in the can. But if it has, then I'll just put it on the project. I'll probably do the back. All right, so here's the other bookend. I'm going to do the exact same thing since that works so well. And I'm going to put, there's little indentions. I'm going to put some wood glue in that. And then we're going to put all on the little border there and a little bit on the inside. Put some of that hot glue from my Sure Bonder there, my right hand. decide how I want it to sit, and then just wait it out. And it is really giving off a nice show. Think back to what this looked like from the thrift store with that scratch look on it. And now we have a beautiful psalm on there. And notice I capitalized his love for you. I know it's grammatically correct to put God's pronouns in lowercase, but I just can't do it. I have to make it uppercase. So I just did that little fix myself. All right, we are off to the clearance section last weekend, or actually last Monday. They went ahead and threw these on 90% off and put them on the clearance aisle. So all these are now, 90% off. They're just a great price. So I'm looking for blanks. This little gnome's cute, but the horseshoe doesn't make it a good blank. This is a good blank. Can easily be painted and made into something else. This is a good blank. Can be painted. These are fantastic blanks. Can be made into all kinds of things. 30 cents. A wonderful blank. Those can be made into all kinds of cuteness for tiered trays and whatnot. So I'm going to show you another way to cut costs a little bit on decoupage paper. We've done stamps, we've done stencils, and now we're going to get some free images from the Graphics Fairy. I've put a link to the Graphics Fairy down below. It is a rabbit hole I love to run. I can go for long periods of time just looking and saving and making folders and saving. This is the Friday freebie email. If you subscribe to their email address, you don't have to pay any money. This is not part of the membership. They'll send you a Friday email with Friday freebies and all these graphics, both front and back. If they have the reversed images. If you want to do some reverse decoupage, how nice they give that to you. And all I do is I find an image I like, I right-click my mouse, I choose the folder I want to save it into, and then I save it. I right-click and find Save Image As. Lots of choices. And then I think I'm putting it into Floral Pics, into a folder that I have created. There we go. Just find the ones I want, and even at the bottom, they have more little rabbity holes I can run down and look at pretty lilies and flowers and all kinds of cuteness. All right, now you can print from the Graphics Fairy website. You can, double click an image and hit print, and it'll print it for you on your printer. But I wanted to size these to make them fit my little blocks, which were about 3 inches square. So I wanted to make sure they were going to fit and they weren't going to be too tall or too wide, or, I wasn't going to have to cut off some of the image. So I do that in Excel. Microsoft Excel, the program, if you have the Microsoft Office suite and you never have used Excel for a spreadsheet, I don't use it for spreadsheets. I use it to size my graphics. And so here I tested out that one on the far left in the corner. And I figured out, how big I needed it to be. And then I printed off a practice run. And it worked. It was exactly what I needed. So now I'm going to size these images, same size, because all of these little blocks that I bought for 30 cents each at Hobby Lobby are all the same size. And then I'm going to search a couple more of my folders. There, I'm in a birds folder. And they just have just a ton of pictures. Now, I do subscribe to the premium package because I just love all the things that they do. And they have so many, I can just search and find anything on Graphics Fairy. But the Friday freebie email is great. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, go to their website and just sign up for their email. It doesn't cost anything, and they don't like email you every day. They might email a couple more times when that new stuff comes out, but they won't, that Friday freebie is what I really enjoy. All right, so I went to print, and it was in portrait mode, so I had to go back and put it in landscape mode so that I could get all 3 of my little squares. So there they are, all ready to be cut out and decoupaged. And here we go, the fun of getting rid of all kinds of stickers on a tiny little thing. Luckily, these weren't too bad. I don't like to put water, like a wet rag on these, because they are MDF and they will swell, possibly if they had a weak point. So I use my heat gun always, and these actually came off nice and clean. They did have glitter, so the glitter had to go. I'm a glitter fan, but not when I'm decoupaging. I don't want to put it on top of glitter. Sometimes if I like the saying or whatever, I might paint over glitter, but not decoupage. That's not what I want to do. So I was going to take them outside and give them a matte clear coat, and I was putting out my coastal living paper, and I found this page, which has some beautiful images with no writing. So I'm going to save those, and we might have to do some decoupage with those as well. Magazines are another great place. And, of course, the Dollar Tree calendars are a great place to find images, both little images and larger ones. So I'm going to paint these with a white gloss. Again, because they're going to be outside, I wanted them to have a tough, hard coat. And, I wanted to give them a good base. So I'm going to be using these images that I printed. There's my blank. I have them gloss coated on both sides, and then I brought them inside and chalk painted just the edges, because I wanted the edges to have a little more of a chalk painted look. Gloss paint is not my favorite. All right, so I'm using the Elmer's glue stick as my decoupage medium here. And I'm going to use my little brayer, my rollers. And then I'm going to flip it upside down and let it dry. Won't take long. These don't take very long. And I'm going from the inside out. I don't want any globs on the outsides of my blocks here. So I'm just going from the inside out, making sure full coverage. And I'm using my fingers to make sure I'm not getting any of that white border. A little brayer, make sure it's all smooth, and then flip it over. Perfectly smooth. Glue stick does a nice job with the small projects. Then come the nail files that I get in bulk off of Amazon. Love these. They make quick work out of sanding these little shelf sitters. Easy peasy. There we go. So once I get all these done, I decided instead of Mod Podging them on, I like to make sure the edges are secure. But again, this is garden and porch decor for the 5 Under 5 challenge, so I wanted to make sure they were good and solid. Now we're going to add a finishing touch, and we're going to crackle them. This Mod Podge crackle is so fun and easy to work with. All you got to do is glob it on nice and thick. The thicker, the better. And usually you wouldn't say that about paint, because what would happen if you had big globs of paint? It would crackle, right? It would crack, and you'd have a big blob with a crack in it. Well, same concept here. This is going to crackle, but it's going to crackle clear. And so then we'll be able to go back and put some antique wax in it, in the crackles, rub the antique wax off the top, and it is a really neat look. So here I go. You can kind of see some of the crackling. And the places that I left bigger globs of the crackle medium, there's more crackles. It's a very fine line. It's a really pretty, not big, thick, chunky crackles. It's a very fine, pretty crackle finish. And the fact that I can get it easily, there's a lot of great crackle finishes you can get when you order online. But the fact that I can get it locally at Walmart or at Michael's or at Hobby Lobby is A-okay with me. I like that ease. And there we go. I just kind of rub off. Oop, I got a little bit too much, so I added it back. A little lighter touch. Everything can be fixed. I'm trying to keep it right on the crackle on the top. I don't want to get any on the sides. Don't want to muddy up my sides. They're already set with the Rust-Oleum. And those crackles just look so cute. So they're just adding a little bit of smiles. Little daisy smiles. And then the backs are still white and ready for whatever else I want to do to them. Usually when I do shelf sitters, I put music on the back. And I still may do that with these. I don't know. I haven't decided. I might stamp on them and paint them because that Family is God's Masterpiece went so well. There's the ones I got from the newspaper. Those look beautiful. And there's the crane. He's stacked. He's probably going to tip over in a gust of wind, but he's all finished. He'll be all right. Okay, now I was at the Walmart after Christmas sales. They had tons of these houses left over, so I was looking for blanks, things I could, make over. And some of these chunky houses came home with me. $3. Yes, thank you. They're super heavy, so a couple of those came home. And then when I'm looking for blanks, see that snowflake that's kind of carved into it? That's not a good blank. I would that one stayed there, but the green one came home because it was blank and didn't have any, Christmassy features. Just it was for Christmassy things. This, of course, was a stocking holder, but we're going to use it elsewhere. And because it's so heavy and chunky and solid, it's going to be perfect for outside. A gust of wind isn't going to blow it off the shelf for sure. So I just get it sanded up and ready for paint. And I'm trying to decide, do I want to cover up the paint? Do I want to just antique wax it? Do I just want to spray seal it with matte clear? And I decided, no, I'm going to go ahead and use this Deco Art dark denim, the same that I used on the Family is God's Masterpiece, and similar to the fish. So I have lots of aquamarine, that tealy blue out there, which was what the shelves are painted in. And then I like to mix my blues. So I'm going to add these blues to that aqua, and it's going to be real pretty. I used to not like to mix blues like that, but I do now. I use lots of different shades of blue, mainly because I like chinoiserie so much, and I love the coastal colors. Okay, speaking of coastal, we're going to put this map of Glenn County, or it's not the whole Glenn County, it's just the coastal side. And so I'm going to leave the hardware black, and I covered up those little house windows that were on there with just a little bit of chalk paint. I wasn't real careful with it because this is copy paper, so it's not it's pretty much opaque. It's not transparent. It's not going to show through much. Going to take a little X-Acto knife and cut me a little slit. I need a little bit more. And I have it placed on there to where I have the part of the map that I want. And then I'm going to just push around that hardware. There's no Mod Podge on the hook, just around it. And so I'll be able to cut a nice clean cut around the hook there. Yep, make sure it's all down. And it just so happens where I had it placed, the place where we live, the part of the island we live on, is right to the right of that hook. Just barely visible. I almost cut out our place where we live. There we go. Now dab, dab, dab. And we're still on there. We're still on there. Okay, and then here come the nail files. Everything is completely dry. Always wait till it's dry. And get that off of there. Beautiful. The blue looks so nice. Can't see any white. Just lovely. I am going to seal these edges and the edge around the hardware with plain Mod Podge because you didn't think I could get through a video this year in 2024 without a little bit of triple thick, did you? No, triple thick. I had to go back to Hobby Lobby and get the big can because I've already gone through the little can, the little bottle. And so I'm going to put triple thick on just like I put the crackle on, but I'm going to get it on a lot smoother. I am just infatuated with this glossy, smooth finish that this gives. I'll end up giving 2 coats on this map, and I'm just layering it very thick, but trying to get it a little smoother than the crackle because I wanted the ridges and edges of the crackling. But with this, I want it to be just like a piece of glass. has been placed on top. There we go. Just leveling it out a little bit. Have to do my own leveling. There we go. 2 coats of that. And look how darling this thing is. I just put some shells around it. And on the hook, you can see, oh, there's the shiny. There's that triple thick. That's one of those Shore Living bead garlands that they have out new this year. I grabbed one with the sailboat. I love that one. Beautiful. Okay, last DIY. This is number 5 in the 5 under 5 challenge. And this one, I just needed a little bit of texture and a little pop of color on one shelf there underneath the blue fish. And so I pulled 4 of these stems. These are from the Dollar Tree. These forsythia stems. And I'm going to use 4 of them, which is, of course, $5. I am using a few zip ties, but I consider those as just part of my stash. I use these all the time, so I get them in all colors. I use mostly this clear kind of white color, but I have black, and then I have the multicolor ones as well. I use them a lot. But now I'm going to be putting a lot of zip ties in here. I end up using 11, but I'm going to take out most of them. I actually take out 6 of them. I'm only going to be leaving 5 of them in, and we'll camouflage them with some blooms. I have my hot gun over there, but I'm twisting those stems, the ends kind of around to where, and then just kind of securing it. Oh, husband's coming to say hello. And so there I go. So I'm not pulling them super tight yet. I'm going to pull the ones that I leave in there tight, but most of them I am going to snip out of there. So I'm trying to just secure them, making sure all the flowers are on top and they're going every which way. I wanted this to kind of just be a sweet little random. I don't put a bow on it, and if you'll notice, I haven't been putting a lot of bows on things. I didn't put bows on any of my DIYs so far in this particular video, and I don't put a bow on this either. I just want it to be kind of natural and simple. I think it's elegant that way. All right, so I'm taking off several of these, and then I'm just, playing with it. It's, just fighting the good fight, pulling some out, using my scissors. If they come out, I put them back in. If it's too thick on one side, I'll steal from that side and put on the other. And just make it look the way I wanted. No wreath form necessary. These stems, these long stemmed picks, I really like those. There's some snapdragons. There's some gladiolas in the stores right now. They have those big palm branches in the stores coming out with the Shore Living stuff. And I like those long stemmed ones. I use a lot of Dollar Tree florals. I really like them. I think these forsythia look great. Great spring flower. So I'm just hiding the ones that I decide to leave in. Some of them I'm cutting out, like that one. Get rid of it. Just threw it away. And then the ones I'm going to leave in, oh, you're gone. I cut down, I'm going to tighten it and then cut it as close as I can. Turn it around to the back, and then I'm going to camouflage it with just a flower, a little dab of hot glue, and hold it. And there we go. Hold it for a second. Yep, we got to cover that one. Do you see it? No, you don't. We'll just cover it up. The flowers are going to be there anyway. Got one more to take care of there. And I think I show you right here. There they are. There's the 6 I snipped off. And can you see the 5 I left in? I hope not. I tried to keep it from being seen. And there they are. And just a simple little wreath for a little bit of color. Right there on the shelves. I put it up with a command hook. I want to thank Emily from Farm Charm Chic for always hosting this 5 under 5 challenge. And her guest host is Lisa from Our Gray House. And there's lots of other crafters that will be on this playlist. Please go and check that out. Lots of inspiration to be had to get our gardens and our back porches and our decks ready for spring and summer. It's so much fun to get outside and do that. And add to the porch. These shelves will change a couple of times during the summer months. I'll switch them around. But for now, I love the way this looks. I love the way these all turned out. I want to read you the full psalm from Psalm 93 that we put onto the fish. Psalm 93, 1-5 says, "The Lord reigns. He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed in majesty and armed with strength. Indeed, the world is established firm and secure. Your throne was established long ago. You are from all eternity. The seas have lifted up, Lord. The seas have lifted up their voice. The seas have lifted up their pounding waves, mightier than the thunder of the great waves, mightier than the breakers of the sea. The Lord on high is mighty. Your statute, Lord, stand firm. Holiness adorns your house for endless days." Thanks be to God. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button and the like button and leave me a comment. Tell me which one was your favorite. And I am thankful that you stayed to watch my whole video. And so from the blue house on the corner, God bless.